Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We are back with another episode of the Snob OS Show. Thank you for rocking with us so long. We want to say a special shout out to our snobbish community. Those are the people who pay the money, and we want to say a special thank you for those people. As a thank you, we give them extra special goodies that you will not hear or see on this show. They get to watch the show live as we record it. That means they get the show early and they get access to our snobist community on Discord. So if you want to become a snobist, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast. Show us a little love, and in return, we will show you some love in return. So we want to get right into the show. This is a Apple filled show because a lot of stuff was happening. I was like, will y'all stop announcing stuff?
Every single day, it's something new.
So no press, no events, but they could have put all this into an
One
actual
day.
event. They could have put this into an event, but they rolled it out, which made it nice to actually go through on my own versus feeling, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel kind of stressed watching the Apple events.
I'm glad they didn't do an event. I'm tired of the events, especially because honestly, I haven't really seen anything in the last couple of events that made me go, "Whoa, this is absolutely amazing." So
Right.
I'm kind of glad they did it this way. But every single day, could you just do like one thing?
Well,
Maybe they're trying a new marketing strategy. I don't know.
right. Well, the reason why I'm stressed out by watching the Apple events is because I know we got to report on this stuff. So I'm watching half tuning in, and the other
Uh-huh.
half is trying to take notes. And all
Yep.
right, I need to make sure I remember that. And oh,
Yep.
that's an important part
Screenshots
to
of
bring up
this.
on the show.
Yep.
And then on social media, trying to live tweet and yada yada yada. It's stressful.
It's a lot.
Stressful. So this way, the stuff rolls out, and I can actually look at it. I can make notes. I
Digest
can
it.
Right. So, but we're going to get right into it. Like I said, this whole show is going to be nothing but Apple stuff. So we're going to go right down the list. And I think I've got it from the newest to the oldest.
Okay.
So the first thing I wanted to bring up is the fact that Apple today, which is Wednesday, if you're listening to this on the recorded show, it's Friday. So on Wednesday, Apple announced their M4 chipped MacBook Pros. So as per usual, they come out with three versions of the new M4 chip. They've got an M4 regular, they've got an M4 Pro, and they've got an M4. Is it Max or is it Pro Max? I think it's
I think it's
Max.
pro. Is it Matt? I don't know.
I'm gonna have to go look it up. I'm gonna have to look it up. So, like I said, I can't remember if it's a Max or a Pro Max.
I thought
I
it
think it's a
was
Max.
following. I thought it was
It's
following
M4
the.
Max. It's
Oh,
M4 Max.
it's Max. It's no Pro.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
So
they were keeping the same thing with the iPhone. Okay,
nope,
good to
nope.
know.
It's M4, M4 Pro, and M4
Okay, Pro.
Max.
Yep, I look
Those are
at.
the
I see
three
it
new
now.
chips. The M4 regular has a 10 core CPU and a 10 core GPU, which in layman's terms makes it 1.8 times faster than the M1 Pro chip, is what I currently have in my
Hmm.
16-inch
Yep.
M1 MacBook Pro. So it's 1.8 times faster than my current device. The M4 Pro, it has 14 core CPU and a 10 core GPU, which makes it three times faster than the M1 Pro chip that came out, I'd say back in 2021. The M4 Max has a 16 core CPU and a 40 core GPU, which makes it three and a half times faster than the M1 Max. So those are the three new chips. And
Hmm.
all those chips can be found, like I mentioned, in the new M4 MacBook Pro,
Hmm.
which in my opinion, in my personal opinion, the thing about this Mac that makes it different is it's got that space black color. I've got a space
Ah,
black. I got a
yeah.
space black iPhone. Got the Ultra 2 Apple Watch, what came in the space black. So when they announced this new color for the MacBook Pro, I'm very intrigued.
Mhm.
Some of the other features include the nano texture liquid XDR display option. And the nano texture, basically, what happens is if you use your laptop or your MacBook out in the sun, or you're using it next to a window and the window is shining in on the screen, this
Mhm.
nano texture display dramatically reduces glare and distractions from reflections. So let's just say, for instance, my little leg lamp behind us was super bright and it was
Mhm.
shining onto the screen. The nano texture option would reduce the glare, so I wouldn't have to try to ramp up my brightness, especially
Mhm.
if you're outside. If you work outside and you got that sun beating down on that screen, trying to crank up the brightness really don't help. So this nano texture option, I say option because it's optional. You got to
Mhm.
pay for it, but it
Yeah.
does have this option for the MacBook Pro screen. Another feature is the 12 megapixel center stage camera. Now, the cameras are center stage like in the older MacBooks, but I don't know if they're 12 megapixels. So Apple was hyping that up. So I thought I'd include that, thinking maybe the current ones are 10, 8, or 10 megapixels. They made sure to highlight the 12 megapixel center stage camera. Center stage is if I move to the left or to the right, the
It
camera
follows
will
you.
actually follows you, right? Yep.
Mhm.
Uh, the another notable feature is all of the MacBook Pros start at 16 gigs of RAM, when in previous years it started at 8.
So I'm
Then,
gonna say something a little bit controversial
all right.
about this starting at 16 gigabit.
Mm-hmm,
If you have these chips, I know it's an improvement, from the standard being 8 gigabits.
mm-hmm,
If you have, so we both have, 16-inch MacBook Pros with the M1 Pro chip.
mm-hmm,
This new MacBook Pro is 3 times faster
mm-hmm,
than the one that we bought, what, 3 years ago.
mm-hmm,
My thing is 16 gigabits of RAM it's good. It's a lot.
mm-hmm.
For these price points, I'm thinking they should probably up the base storage for these. If you're giving these machines all this power,
Mm-hmm.
even though again, like I said, 16 gigabits of RAM is good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to up the start of the storage for these. Again, like
So
I said, it may be
what?
controversial, but I think it's something to look into, especially when you start, on the Pro and the Max chips. It just
Mm-hmm,
seems smarter that if you're going to have the machines that are this powerful, you need to have the infrastructure to back up
mm-hmm,
the power that you're putting in these machines. And then, if you're looking at the pros, they start at, for the 14 inch at 2000. The
mm-hmm,
16-inch is starting at what, uh, what, 25?
mm-hmm.
2,500. So, I mean, you know, give us a little more
Well,
razzle dazzle.
so the reason why these are so fast is because they do so much with the processor.
Mhm.
So much so that I can remember a time to where RAM was super duper important, right?
Mhm.
You got to have RAM or your computer will not work, right?
Right.
Now that Apple has moved off of Intel and moved on to these Apple silicon chips, the silicon chips themselves do so much on the computer processor side that the RAM, as far as an integral part, is important, but not as important as before. So what I think Apple did was it says, all right, we'll bump it up to 16 gigs, but just know as long as you've got that M4 Pro with that's why I ran off those 10 core CPU
Yeah.
and 40 core GPU. To me, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those chips are doing the heavy lifting. So the RAM, which is the random access memory, doesn't have to do so much work. So Apple says, all right, well, at the very least, we will get you to 16 gigs. And if you get the M1 Max chip, I think by default, that comes with 32 gigs. So I think Apple is kind of doing a little bit of both. If you get the high end M4 Max chip, I think they put 32 gigs in that out the jump. I'd have to go into the Apple store and kind of configure one and see what happens. But I think that's why they say, all right, well, we'll give you 16 gigs. Just know that that's not as important as it used to be. Same way with the phones, right?
Yeah.
With an Android, they tell you how much gigs or RAM is in the Android. With
Hmm.
iPhone, Apple never really kind of mentions it. People do their research and find out that it is however many gigs of RAM, but Apple really doesn't promote that because I think their chips seem to do a lot of work. But that's just, me just kind of assuming
Yeah.
what's going
And
on.
I from what I understand, that is the case. If you have 10 core, that means it's essentially parallelizing, I think
Hmm.
I said that correctly, the way that the workflow works. And you have 10 cores, um, on the CPU side for the M4 and 10 on the GPU. And then it bumps up to 14 and 16 progressively for each of the increase for the Pro and for the Max. And I get that. And the chip is taking some of the heavy lifting from these machines. But looking at some of the specs for the Pro chip, is configurable up to 48 gigs. And for the
Hmm.
Pro Max, is configurable up to 128. So it's one of
Hmm.
those things where, you have a lot of runway to max out these chips. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but 16 for the M4 starting there, sure. I get that. That makes sense. But once you start getting to the Pro and to the Max, you know, I would personally like to see them, give a little bit more. And, it may not be as important as it used to be, but let's add a little razzle dazzle because when you're optimizing these machines, sure, it's an improvement. But at the same time, um, inflation. I'll say that as well as and I say inflation jokingly, but saying that a lot of these, machines are costing a lot of money. And we got
Hmm.
the machines we have 3 years ago. And now the comparable machine to what we have is now 3 times faster in three
Hmm.
years than what it was than we got it, than when we originally got it. And I'm just saying, I would like to at least see the conversation around starting, even if you don't start the Pro at
Hmm.
32, the
Hmm.
Max, you know, and
Well, they
maybe
do.
okay, so
So,
so that one does. Did you
so
find
I'm
it?
going to, I actually went through and configured one real
Okay.
quick. 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M4 Pro chip. It
Mhm.
starts at 24 gigs of memory.
Okay.
And then you can get one also with a 20 core. Uh, um, you can choose
Okay, cool.
24 or 48. And then
Okay.
if you go to the max, 36 and 48.
Okay. So my
So,
take wasn't so controversial because they're doing it. And I am happy to hear that because looking at what is under the hood, it should have some extra razzle dazzle, and it does have the extra razzle dazzle. And
all
I'm
right.
happy to hear
All
that.
right.
Moving on.
Speaking of Razzle let's go list some of these other ones. Thunderbolt 5 ports, not five Thunderbolt ports. Thunderbolt 5 as opposed to
Right.
Thunderbolt 4 or 3. Right now, I think in my Mac, I think we have Thunderbolt 4. I don't even want to say maybe Thunderbolt 3. So they have the same amount of ports. They've got the two USB-C on the left side. They've got the MagSafe port on the left side. On the right side, it's got the SD card slot. It's got another USB-C, which is Thunderbolt 5 rated, and then it has the HDMI port on the right-hand side. So it's all got the same amount of ports, but they've stepped up the Thunderbolt 5. Same thing with Wi-Fi. These new Macs support Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3, which is the latest as far as wireless connectivity. They have up to 24 hours of battery life, which actually doubles the battery life from the current MacBooks that we currently have.
And this
Again, like I,
is this is key. This 24-hour battery life with the type of processor that it has, to
mhm,
me, it's, it's not sexy, but getting up to 24 hours of battery life with a chip that has this type of power behind it, this
mhm,
24-hour battery life is doing something. It's doing something.
mhm. All right, all right. Again, like I mentioned, the thing that's most sexy to me is the space black color option.
It's nice.
And yeah, yeah. And if you're listening to this now, you can pre-order one now. The M4 regular starts at 15.99. The M4 Pro starts at 19.99, and the M4 Max starts at 24.99. You can pre-order them now, and they will be available next Friday, November 8th. So that is the MacBook Pro with the M4 chip. What are your overall thoughts?
Um, if you're in the market, I think this is great.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's, like I said, for me, I think the thing that stands out most, and I said it's not the sexy thing, but to be able to have basically almost a full day of battery life using this thing with the
Hmm.
type of processor that it has, to me, especially you're thinking laptop, you don't want to lug around all these extra peripherals and cords and all this kind of stuff. Um, to me, that stands out more than anything because we already know it's a new chip. It's going to be faster. It's going to be more optimized. All these wonderful things. But the battery life kind of sticks out the most to me.
Okay. All right. All right. Like I said, I
Oh, and
like
the
the
color,
fact.
the color, the space black is that's a sexy color. That
Okay.
looks great. That looks great.
All right. All right. So yeah, like I said, the space back color, I mean, it's super nice. Super nice. I also like the Thunderbolt 5 ports. Like I mentioned, I currently have an M1 Pro, MacBook Pro, but I am scared to run Final Cut Pro on my machine. Now I run it on my machine, but I don't store the files to
Oh
Final
yeah.
Cut Pro on my machine. Anytime I want to edit a video, edit the show, whatever the case may be, I've got to plug in my
External.
external drive in order
Yep.
for it to work because I'm scared of one, the battery life, and I'm scared of the storage space.
And
But
slowing this thing down like
and
tremendously.
right, and slowing it down. But since this thing is 3.5 times faster than my Mac, I would consider maybe putting Final Cut Pro, running the editing actually on my Mac because
Mhm.
I don't know if it's because I'm plugged up running everything off the external drive. My Mac does start to kind of think about it sometimes
Mhm.
when I'm editing videos. So maybe that it's thinking about it because it's the files and the rendering, everything is not on
I think
twice.
the rendering and the caching
Mhm,
are the biggest, slogs or cogs in the
mhm,
wheel
mhm,
of
mhm,
this because it's continuously rendering. If you go into like the library where it's cached, it's pretty much everything
mhm,
that you've
mhm,
done is stored in there, and that takes up processing power.
mhm. Yep. So with all that, like I said, I don't know about the nanotexture liquid display option. I'm cool with that because I really don't be outside. Um, I did was curious and I actually did the research
Mhm.
because sometimes what I did, well, not sometimes, all the time when I'm recording the show for video, I turn
Mhm.
down the brightness on my MacBook because I can see the glare in my glasses.
Mm.
I was wondering, I was like, hey, I wonder if this nano texture option would work with the glare off the screen versus the glare being reflected onto the screen. I looked
Mm.
it up, it's only one way. So the nano texture liquid XDR display option reduces glare for lights and lighting that is displayed
On the
onto the
screen,
screen, not
not off of them.
necessarily reducing glare from the screen. So I was like, all right, well, that's not going to work for me. But I looked this up. I looked this up because I think I'm gonna get one. That's for those who don't know. In the pre-show, I was talking about my finances as it relates to podcasting equipment, and I was mentioning that I was considering getting a new camera for the
Mhm.
show. Now I can't afford it because I think this is where my money is going.
Your buddy's gonna go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's, I mean, that's Space Black. I mean,
It's
it's
nice.
calling me. It's calling me. It's just calling me.
And if you've seen
So.
if you've been in the Apple Store, I think the M3 has a I think the 14-inch
Hmm.
has this black.
Hmm.
I believe so.
Either it's black or a midnight color. I remember
Maybe.
the air has a midnight color. Um, I had to look it up, but I think maybe the newer ones. I'm not sure. I had to go look it up. But this is the first time, at any rate, me looking at a space black laptop and going, man, I gotta have
Oh, it's
that.
midnight. It is midnight. It's not space
Yeah,
black. It's midnight.
it's not a true black color. It's like it's deep. It's a deep midnight color, but it still has that blue tint to it. I think I'm pretty sure Stephanie Humphrey from the
Mhm.
Tech John. She has that midnight M1 or M2 MacBook Air. So, but anyway, like I said,
Yeah, but I was just saying because I remember when I can't remember what version it was. It was last year that came out, and I was actually in Italy, I think, when it came
mhm,
out. And of course, I walked by this huge Apple store and I went in and I thought it was black. Maybe it was the midnight, but I thought it was
mhm,
black. And I thought that I was like, wow, that really that does something. That really
mhm.
sticks out. So maybe it was the midnight. So if the midnight is doing that, then this space black, looking at the pictures, it's nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm all but signed up for it.
Right.
I think I'm just gonna go ahead and
You're
treat
pretending
yourself.
you're
Treat
pretending
yourself.
to build this out, but I think
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
actually building out. And this funny thing is I was texting with a friend earlier during before the show, and I've come into some extra little side cash I wasn't expecting, and I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this cash. At one point I was like, maybe that'd be a new bag. The other thing I was like, maybe I'll do me like a full spa day at my favorite hotel, like an overnight. Maybe I do some new tech. And then all of this stuff comes out this week. And I'm like, maybe that's where this new free money that just kind of fell in my lap, maybe I'll be getting something new from Apple. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I'm right there with you, brother. I might have to
Yep.
buy something new.
Yep. Yep. All right. Speaking of new stuff, Apple now announced a bunch of new stuff. Another thing that they dropped is the M4 iMacs.
Hmm.
24-inch screens, the all-in-one built-in has comes with the all the different colors. The colors are green. This green looks that's a nice looking green color.
Hmm.
Green, yellow, orange, pink, purple, blue, and the traditional Apple silver color. So they've got
Hmm.
all new color lineup. The 24-inch iMacs also have the nano texture display option that we mentioned with the MacBook Pros. The screen is a 4.5K Retina display. So it's pretty much the best you can get out of a 4K until you jump up to 8K. The iMac comes in 16 gigabytes standard RAM as well. The which makes it the M4 iMac is 1.7 times faster than the M1 iMac that came out around the same time that our computers came out, and it's
Hmm.
4.5 times faster than any Intel powered Mac. So you can't go wrong with these new iMacs. Again, like I said, they've got these new colors. If you got some time, go on the website and look at some of these new colors because those colors
They're
are
pretty.
they're super nice.
Yeah.
Definitely super nice, especially that green. I saw that green one. I'm like, oh, that the green and the blue. I saw those like, oh, those are nice Macs. Again, I need something that's more mobile because I'm going to different desks between my podcast desk to my regular desk to sometimes I take my Mac up in the bedroom. So I definitely need
Mhm.
a laptop for that. But if you've got family members like my son, I can see him getting an iMac for him because it's gonna be stationary. You're gonna
Yeah.
sit at this desk and you're gonna do your
Do
work.
your work.
Yeah, you don't need to take this
Yeah.
thing nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
The M4 iMacs, they are available for pre-order now, starting at $12.99. Again, they will be available for pickup or for shipping next Friday, November 8th. So what are your thoughts on the M4 iMac?
I love the colors. I think if you're in the market for kind of like, I'll say, quote unquote, old school type of setup, back in the day, we had a computer room. That's where the
Mhm,
computer was. It didn't move. Usually these sort of encyclopedias were there. The printer was there. You had like the big wooden desks that, you had all of the CDs for the, software, whatever. If you're trying to make a kind of this is a dedicated workspace, I
mhm.
think these iMacs are perfect for that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so again, moving into the Macs, got more Macs. We've got the brand new and super duper tiny.
Small. Yeah.
When I mean tiny, this thing
It's
is
so small.
about the size
You can
of
hold
an
it in
Apple
your hand.
TV. The,
Yeah.
the Apple TV box that you sit under your computer. I'm trying to look over at mine now and looking at a picture of this new Mac Mini. The new Mac Mini is just a little bit taller,
Yeah.
but as
That's the
far
only
as the
difference. It's taller. That's
yep,
it.
yep. But it's about the same size as an Apple TV box. Again, this is the first carbon neutral Mac, which means the energy and the products, not products, the materials and the energy that it takes to make one of these Mac minis,
Hmm.
it's renewable to basically make it zero. There's no waste that they use recyclable aluminum, they use recyclable this, they use recyclable that. Apple is trying to make all of their manufacturing energy efficient as possible, solar, thermal, all that stuff. So by the time you make a Mac Mini, there's no more waste than it took in to actually make the machine. So Apple is
Right.
really trying to go gung ho on this green initiative. So this is the first carbon neutral Mac out there. This one also comes with an M4 Pro Apple chip. So with the Mac Mini, so going back with the iMac, I don't even think you can configure it with anything other than an M1. With the
Hmm.
Mac Mini, I think it starts at the M4 Pro. I would have to check and see if you can actually configure it with an M4 Max, but I didn't get the impression. I'll have to go look it up. But the M4 Pro Apple chip comes with a 10 core CPU and a 10 core GPU, which makes it 2.5 times faster than the M1 Mac Mini that came out, a couple years back. Again, this one also has 16 gigs standard RAM, and the Mac Mini again is available for pre-order for only $600. I was considering getting a camera that's going to cost more than that.
Hmm.
That's single purpose. This is a full-on computer
Yeah.
with a M4 chip, carbon neutral, 16 gigs of RAM, only $600. Pre-order now and availability starting next Friday. So, were you taken aback by how small this thing is, or what?
I was really surprised by how small it is, but I
Hmm.
think probably the biggest thing is the starting price point. And I'm looking at it, and there's only one version of the Mac Mini that can go up to the M4 Pro. Everything
Hmm.
else is just M4. But
Right.
the size of this thing and the price is like, wow, that's wow.
Yep.
And I did see some people, of course, making fun of it because that's what they
Sure.
do.
Sure.
It's now the power button is on the bottom, and there
Right.
was some commentary regarding how
Sure.
some of the Magic Mouse, you have to flip it over almost like a roach and,
Yeah.
stick the power cord in. It's like, "Okay,
Hmm.
you gave us USB-C, but
Yep. I
maybe
was
they
gonna get.
fixed maybe they fixed it."
Right.
No, but yeah,
Yep.
it's just now the bottom the power button for this thing is on the bottom. I have a Mac Mini that's sitting on my desk now, and the power button is kind of on the
Is in the
back on the
back.
side.
Hmm.
On the side,
Hmm.
you press it, and now it's on the bottom. So of course, people had to make jokes because
Yeah, at
you
$600 with two front-facing USB-C ports, I would have to look and see on the back how many ports are on the back. But the fact that this thing is as the size of a Apple
it's so
TV,
small.
has two USB ports in the front, probably has three or four in the
It
back,
has three
and
in the
it's only
back.
$600. It's like, all right, if I got to turn this thing off, I have no problem tilting it and
Tilting it just to stay. Yeah.
looking for that button. Similar to how with my Mac Mini that I still have running.
Yeah.
I really don't use it anymore. It's just running as a backup computer where we back up all the computers to that, which
Mhm.
I still need to work on that because it is it's not flawless like I wanted to, but that's besides the point. I have no problem reaching around in the back and pressing the button. And I, for $600 for this powerful of a computer, I would have no problem tilting it
Tilted
up
to the side.
and that bottom. Now,
Yeah.
with the USB-C Apple gear, the Mac Mini and the i4 Mac, the iMac comes with color matching Magic Keyboard and Magic Mouse. The Mac Mini, you would have to buy a keyboard and a mouse, but when you
Mhm.
opt for any of those, you will get a USB-C Magic Keyboard and a Magic Mouse. They have done
Mhm.
away with the Lightning cable, which once they
This
got
should
rid of
be the end.
these,
This should be the end of Lightning,
yep,
right?
this should be the end of Lightning. But like Nica mentioned, I just knew that they were going to move the USB-C port for the Magic Mouse to the front or even to the back. I would have taken it on the back
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
at least with it in the back or plugging in the front, I can use it while it's charging. I
Yeah.
have a Lightning Magic Mouse that I use right now. See
Mhm.
the little thing right there? That is where I plug this thing in. So I have to turn it around on its belly just
Like
to
a
plug it
bug.
up. I
Like a
just uh,
bug.
I just assumed that they were going to fix that.
Yeah.
No, they did not.
They
But
did
if
not.
you do need to get a Magic Mouse, the new one is $99. They have a space black one. I have one of those, but I have it in the Lightning version. Since I would consider getting a USB-C space black Magic Mouse just to match my
To match
my upcoming space black,
purchase.
but not with the USB-C on the bottom. It's just like that. It's not a deal breaker. It's just one of those things. It's like, come on, Apple, aesthetically as aesthetically focused as Apple is,
Yeah.
this is one of those things that leaves you scratching your head.
Why
So,
won't
but
they change it? Why do you give us the dead roach mouse?
right, right, right. But if you want to get one, the Magic Mouse is $99. It comes in the white and the silver, unless you're getting an
Mhm.
iMac, which gets all the colors that match. And
Mhm.
then the Magic Keyboard, which starts at 149 if you just want the short one, or if you want to get the longer one with the number keys on the
The
side, that
keypad.
one, yeah, that one is $199. And like I mentioned, you now get USB-C with those. So if you're looking for USB-C accessories for your Mac, Apple has something for you. All right. And then I think the belle of the ball, as far as everything that was announced this week, was Apple Intelligence is available to the public. If you have iOS 18.1, if you have iPad OS 18.1, or if you have Mac OS Sequoia 15.1, you now can take advantage of Apple Intelligence. So even if you don't have a compatible iPhone, because the Apple Intelligence compatibility for the iPhones is very few. It's
Mhm.
the 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, and then all of the iPhone 16s. So if you got a 14, 13, 12, 11, 10R, 10S, 10X Max, they won't get Apple Intelligence. Now they do get iOS 18.1, but they don't get the Apple Intelligence stuff. But if you have an M anything Mac or an M anything iPad, all of those devices will get Apple Intelligence so long as you have iPad OS 18.1 or Mac OS Sequoia 15.1, which again came out earlier this week. The first wave, I call it a wave because even though finally Apple Intelligence is here. It ain't here in completion. They're coming
Yeah.
out in waves. So
Yeah.
this first wave of Apple Intelligence, you get system-wide writing tools. So if you need to compose an email or a note or a text message, you use writing tools to help you proofread it and adjust it for tone. If you want it to be more business, if you want it to be more casual, you can use those writing tools. More natural and conversational Siri. So when you invoke Siri, you can say, "Hey, what
Miss Girl.
about
Yeah.
the meetings that I had on Tuesday? Who did I have a meeting with?" It knows
Mhm.
to go and search through that calendar history and see if you invited somebody, and you can actually find that person. And you don't have to. One of the things that stumps me every time I try to use Homegirl
Mhm.
is because I'm trying to get the phonetics and pronunciate correctly and completely and get the whole thought out in one sentence as to
Mhm.
not mess her up, right?
Yeah.
With this new natural conversational, I don't have to be so perfect in the prompt. According to Apple, this new Apple Intelligence kind of knows my ums and uhs. And if I say, no, I meant to say,
Mhm.
or not to at 4 p.m., it'll kind of pick up on that and it'll
Mhm.
actually do those edits live versus you having to start all over.
Mhm.
Another one is the more intelligent photos app to where you can actually do the cleanup tool. So if you got something in the background you want to get rid of in a picture, you can do that. But in addition to that, you can actually use Siri to actually create a memory. You can say, for instance, um, show me pictures of us at the pool, and it'll go through my photos album and pull up all the pictures of me, my wife, my kids in the pool, and it'll pull those pictures up. And you can actually create a memory out of that. I think some of the commercials, the Apple commercials right now, are centered around that. I think they had a mom and she's, getting a birthday party for her kid, and she pulls all
Mhm.
these pictures together and immediately within like a couple seconds creates this memory for this girl's birthday, right? So that's the more intelligent photos app. And then new ways to prioritize and stay focused. So there is a new focus feature on all of the Apple Intelligence compatible devices, to where there's a new Apple Intelligence mode, to where
Mhm.
it knows or it learns the most important notifications that it needs to show you in this mode.
Mhm.
Anything that's not important, it doesn't show you, which is different than like a focus mode that turns all the notifications off, and then you got to go in and maybe specify, I only want notifications from my wife, or I only want notifications from my kids, or I only
Mhm.
want notifications from my boss or my emergency contact or whatever. You got to go in and set that on all these other focus modes. Well, with this intelligence one, it'll learn your people you contact, it'll learn that stuff, and it'll only surface that stuff that it thinks that's important. So another thing I wanted to announce real quick is what's not in this
Mhm.
wave of Apple Intelligence. It's rumored to come out in 18.2. We don't know when that's coming out. It could be next week. My guess is it's sometime before Thanksgiving, maybe. But the things that people are really looking forward to is the visual intelligence on photos and the phone screen. What that
Mhm.
means is you can take a picture, you can use the Apple Intelligence and it'll tell you the stuff that's in the picture. It give you prices, locations, dates, text. It read text. It'll automatically surface phone numbers, email addresses, all that type of stuff just from a picture. And like if you take a picture of you know, uh, I don't know, a flower and say, what is this? It'll
Mhm.
actually tell you the flower or whatever the case may be. That's not here yet. Another thing that's not here yet is the Chat GPT integration. So if I wanted to say, hey, homegirl, ask ChatGPT, how do I make a margarita with tap water? If it'll scrub, it'll ask, it'll go past Siri, it'll go into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, if she knows or they know that, it'll surface that. That's not here yet.
Mhm.
Another thing that's not here yet is the image playground, to where you can make the Genmojis. You can actually start typing text and it'll generate an image for you. That's not here yet. So the things that's coming and the things that are not yet here, what do you think about this first wave of Apple Intelligence?
I'm underwhelmed.
Underwhelmed.
And
Okay.
I am, and I'll tell you why. It's not just because of the features. It was because of, I guess, the rollout of it.
Okay.
So it popped up, hey, you can upgrade. Let me click update up, and it's like great. It does its thing. I've updated all of my devices, so everything is on the latest. Everything's
Mhm.
on the 18.1 or 15.1
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
And so I went to get Apple Intelligence. I think you have a part of that in your hookup. I
Mhm.
joined the wait list in about an hour.
Mhm.
Put the phone down and went and did something else. By the time I came back to the phone, hey, you can install it. So I went to install it. And then I started doing other stuff on my phone, or I put the phone down, I go do something else. It would not download unless the settings page on the iPhone was open. So
Oh.
say, yeah, and it was weird. So I had it on and it would show, the percent download. And so then I'd go and I'd, go email or text or whatever, and I go back to check and see where it was, and it basically hadn't changed. But if I just stayed there,
Mhm.
it would tick up a lot quicker. And I was like,
Mhm.
the whole thing is, water won't boil if you watch it.
Right.
So, I'm an engineer, scientist, or whatever. So I was like, let's do a little experiment. So I started a timer on my watch with
Mhm.
the system page open, and to
Mhm.
see how fast it would get, to the next stage. So I was like, I did it
Mhm.
like 10. So I think at this point it was like on 49 something. So I waited till it got to 50, and I was like, I timed it to see how far in the progression it would get, to 60. And I was like, okay, noted that. Then once that started, I swiped. It was still running in the background,
Mhm.
and I went to Twitter or by
Mhm.
email or something. Set another timer, same amount of time. When I went back, it had maybe moved up 1%. It hadn't moved. But after if I stayed on that screen, tick, 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 tick. So I was annoyed by that. First of
Mhm.
all, that was my first annoyance.
Mhm.
And that when you first click the download, it doesn't when you click join and it says, "Oh, you have it, turn it on." My mind, "Oh, it's turned on. I'm good to go. I don't have to do anything." And then I was like, I started trying to like test out the features and do. I'm like, why the hell isn't anything happening? I
Mhm.
didn't realize that there was a download to this.
Yeah.
Because when I would go back to it, it would say, it's downloading, in the fine print, some features may not be available. And you didn't
Mhm.
really see, I didn't see basically the progress bar going until I
Mhm.
waited a couple minutes for it to show. So I was already, kind of annoyed by
Mhm.
that. And so then when I started to use the features, the photo thing, with the cleanup tool, that was kind of cool. The on the mail, the preview type of situation,
Mhm.
I was like, is this thing even on? I wasn't even sure. So I went
Uh-huh.
back to the settings and I was like, let me because you can change, if you look at the email, you can change how many lines you want to see. So I was like, let
Right.
me just
Right.
say 5 and see if I see a difference. And then I did like 5 and I was like, oh, okay. I guess it does do something. The other thing was the summarizing. And I'm like, I open my email, I don't see no summary. Where the summary at? Why I ain't got no summary? Did
Mhm.
I miss a summary? So then I had to I had to look it up on
Mhm.
Apple support to say like why I ain't got no summary. Y'all said,
Mhm.
and at first I was like maybe it didn't take. Maybe
Mhm.
my install didn't take, but I went back and I was like, you're up to date 18.1. I was like, it says I am. And so then it was like, you may have to scroll all the way to the top to get the little button that says summarize. So I
Mhm.
scroll down a couple of times, scroll down, and then it finally popped up. And I was like, okay. And I clicked the
Mhm.
button. And I was like, okay, there's a summary. So the features itself may be good, but how I had to get to the features, it took some of the luster out of it. And I'm like, man,
By the
forget this.
time you got there, he was
By the time I
already
had
out
to do
of it.
all the work, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not used to having, first world problems. I'm not used to having to do this
To
amount
do
of work
stuff.
to
Right.
get the features that they've given me before. I gotta do
Mhm.
like some extra work. I didn't sign up for that, or at least warn me. Nobody on Twitter warned me that I was gonna have to do some work to get these features to show. So by that time, I was like, you know what? You can
Never
keep
mind.
it. Whatever. I don't even care anymore. I don't even care. You can have it. So, I am a little as excited as I was for Apple Intelligence. I'm like, I guess, girl.
Yeah. Well, so, I've gotten used to it because I've been using public beta for about a month. So,
Mhm.
I went through all that, to get it all set up. But once you get it all set up and get used to it, like I said, the summarize stuff works a lot. Like even on my Mac, now that I've got it set up and downloaded on my Mac, when the little
But you have to
notifications
press it.
slide in,
But you have to press the summarize button every time. I
mm-mm, not for
thought
me.
I have
Uh-uh.
to press the summarize button. It has like the little summarize icon. I have to
Hmm.
press it in order
Oh.
to get the summary. That's why I was like,
Oh.
I don't know if mine took, but
Yeah, right.
I have to press anytime I click on an email that has it. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little
You gotta let
fuzzy.
it focus.
Yeah, it don't want to focus. But in any event, yep, there it is.
Hmm.
Sorry for those of you who are not watching. But this is the summarize button. And I have to click that
Okay.
button to get my summary.
All right. So go back. Click the mailboxes over there.
Uh-huh.
Now on that screen,
Mhm.
I've got it set up to where it just shows me two lines. Do you see the little summarized little icon?
So yeah, so I have that where it shows. So this is like I told you, I did it to 5. I ended up changing it to 3 because I was like, I don't know if what I'm doing. So is that what the summary is?
Yes, to where you don't even have to go into the email. You go on this screen to all your email, and it'll show you like a one or two sentence summary of the
Uh,
email. And then if you go into it, it'll give you the full email. But the whole point of the summarized email, summarized text messages is when the notification slides in or pops up on your lock screen or on the
mhm.
banner, it'll give you that summary of that text message or email right then and there to where you don't have to go into the text message or the email to actually
Okay.
read the whatever. So that's the summaries.
When you go into your email, you have that summary button that you have to click to get the full summary, or does yours just automatically show?
Let me see. I just relied on just looking at the
Oh, the
summary.
summary in the
Yeah,
list.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I do have the summarize button,
Okay.
and then it thinks about it and then summarizes the email so you don't have to scroll down. So it does it in two areas. It does it on the in the front where it just shows you the preview of the email. And then if you don't want to scroll through this long email at the very top, you click that summarize button and then it summarizes the whole entire email, which is a little bit more than
Yeah.
that preview. So it does.
Again, this is extra work that based on the Apple event, I didn't
Mhm.
realize I was
That you had
going
to
to
do
have to
all
do.
that.
I thought I just opened it and it gave me a summary. But now I gotta
Oh, yeah.
open it and I gotta click. Sometimes I have to like scroll down for the summary button to show. And I say, girl,
All right.
you're making me do work. That's not what I thought,
So
but I
yeah,
guess.
so ultimately, Apple Intelligence lackluster so far.
Yeah, yeah, it's not winning for me, especially since they had to make me do work up front. It's not. Sorry, I love you, Apple. I am a snob, but you
Right.
to me, you
So,
you missed the mark on this one.
right. So, the reason why you got to do all that, like the things Nika mentioned, because in addition to downloading, for instance, if we're talking about iPhones, in addition to downloading iOS 18.1, which is however many gigs in and of itself, 2 or 3 gigs,
Mhm,
in addition to that, in order to get all the Apple Intelligence features, you have to join the Apple waitlist,
mhm,
and the actual Apple Intelligence portion itself is
mhm,
4 gigs. What
mhm.
Apple didn't want to do is have everybody doing both of them at the
At
same
same
time.
time. Now that I
And
get.
right, and in addition to that, there are some people who every time an iOS update comes out, they barely have enough space to download the update itself.
Mhm,
So I can imagine somebody trying to download iOS 18 and assuming that Apple Intelligence is included in that. They get the message that says you run out of space, right?
Mhm.
And they're thinking, oh, all I got to do is delete some pictures, maybe delete some
Mhm.
apps that I don't use, and then boom, it'll come. But if they're looking at iOS 18.1 and Apple Intelligence, that's like 10 or 12 gigs.
Mhm.
So you got to do a lot of work just to get iOS 18.1. So the Apple was like, all right, well, let's break it up. So you can download iOS 18.1, get all the security features, get all the whatever the case may be, get all the non-Apple Intelligence updates.
Mhm.
Once you get that, then once you find out or realize you need more space, then you can clear up some more space in order to get Apple Intelligence, as opposed to them doing it as one big chunk
Big,
and
yeah.
you not even being able to get anything because you can't clear up 10 or 12 gigs, right? This
No.
way, you can clear up 4 gigs to get 18.1. Then, if you need to clear up more space to get Apple Intelligence. So, I'm
I
assuming,
have yeah,
go
and
ahead.
honestly, I have no problem with that. Just let me know
Yeah.
the level of effort that I'm gonna
Right.
have to put in. So, like I said, when I installed it, turning on Apple Intelligence, okay, that's cool. What I didn't anticipate is
Mhm.
the time that it would take, that there would be an additional download.
Right.
And then maybe my experience with the having to be on that, settings page for it to
Mhm.
download, maybe that's something unique to me.
Well,
I
no,
don't know.
they've got to, what's that word? Stack, not stack. There's a word that I'm
Parallelize?
looking. No, no. There's another word when you've got to do stuff in different sequences.
Sequence?
Anyway, no, that's not the word. I'll think about it in the middle of the
It'll
night when I
come back.
wake up.
Alright.
But they even didn't want everybody downloading Apple Intelligence at the same time. Stagger, that's the word.
And that
So they
makes
had,
sense for
right.
joining the wait list. That I get. That
Okay.
I get. That I understand
Yeah,
that it has to
yeah,
be. But again, just let me know what I'm getting into.
yeah.
Because and I think the thing is we're so used to just it working,
Right.
and now you're trying to change up on me. And
So
you're trying to change up on me.
right, right. So that leads into the hookups. So we're done with all the announcements. So I've got a couple of things that I want to let y'all know, so we so you don't run into the Nicas of the
Don't be
world.
me.
If you're listening to Snob OS, I'm going to give you the lowdown ahead of time with a couple of these hookups. The first one is how to join the Apple Intelligence Waitlist. Of course, first you need to have downloaded iOS 18.1 or iPadOS 18.1 or macOS Sequoia 15.1. The Apple Intelligence download itself needs 4 gigs of storage. So after you up downloading your operating system, you need an additional 4 gigs of storage to get Apple Intelligence. Once you've checked that off the list, now you actually have to join the Apple Intelligence waitlist, which is my hookup. And this first stage is you have to go into the settings, you got to tap Apple Intelligence Siri, and then tap on Join Apple Intelligence Waitlist. What that's going to do is, like I said, put you on a wait list to
Put you in
where,
the queue.
yeah, put
I
you
think
in the
it's more
queue.
I think it's more of a queue than a wait list because you'll get it pretty quickly. It's just they're
Yeah.
not trying to give it to everybody at the same time.
Right, right. And like Nica mentioned, that I didn't put in here that I'll add, in order for it to go as fast as possible, you got to join the Apple Intelligence waitlist. Once you get the notification that it's downloading, just put your phone down. Just put it down.
Put
Don't.
it Leave it on
Right,
the setting screen where it's
right.
doing the download. Just leave it. You know
Hmm,
that the
hmm,
infomercial set and forget it?
hmm,
Set it and forget it. And then just
hmm.
go back.
Yep, yep, yep. I'm adding that now. Leave phone on Apple Intelligence download screen until download is
It's
complete.
complete. Yes.
So that is my hookup for Apple Intelligence. I've got a couple of more hookups that I want you that I want you to make attention to. Is the AirPods Pro Hearing Test with iOS 18.1. You got the new AirPods Pro hearing aid feature that if you are hard of hearing, the AirPods will double as hearing aids. In addition to that, there is an actual hearing test that you actually can take. I actually took the time to actually take it.
Hmm.
I actually got the survey results and I have little to no hearing loss. So I'm pretty proud of that. But if you want to actually take this hearing test, of course, you've got to make sure the AirPods Pro firmware is updated. And basically, how you do that is just make sure they're connected to your iPhone. Once you do that, you'll get the firmware. Of course, you got to be connected or downloaded to iOS 18.1. Once you do that, if you open up the AirPods case or put the AirPods in your ear, it'll reveal that AirPods Pro option. So if you go into the AirPods iPhone settings, insert the AirPods in your ear, um, follow the on-screen instructions once you do the hearing test. So it'll start with one ear, and you have to be in a quiet area because this hearing test is a legit hearing test. It actually
Like the doctor,
makes
it's the FDA had to approve this, people. So
right. So
it's
basically,
medical
what you
grade.
do is it starts with one ear and it plays a tone. And as soon as you hear that tone, you got to tap the screen to let the phone know that you heard it. And then it'll do it again. It'll do it for in one ear for at least 20 times, I want to say. And
Mhm.
then once you've done one ear, you do the other ear for a total of about 10 minutes. I think it took me 10 minutes to sit there in quiet. If TV's running, you won't hear it. If people are talking, so find a quiet area and go through this test. But then once you do that, it'll give you your survey results. So I just thought that was cool that again, that I have little to no hearing loss. So, but if you want to actually take that test, if you maybe you may actually realize that you need the AirPods Pro to double as a hearing aid because you can't hear what's going on around you. This test is a good way to figure that out.
Yep.
So then the very last hookup I got is the how to set up Apple Watch sleep apnea notifications. So while the Apple Watch really doesn't have any Apple Intelligence feature outside of the summarize, text messages, email, whatever the case may be, that's the only Apple Intelligence that's going to come to the Apple Watch, the ability to do those summarized messages. But an extra treat for the Apple Watch. If you downloaded Apple Watch or Watch OS 11.1, you get the sleep apnea notifications. And basically, what that does is while you're asleep, your watch monitors your arm or your wrist movement to kind of indicate that if you're moving or not. And based on your respiratory and the heart rate that it reads from the watch, it can actually notify you if you have breathing, I want to call it interferences, I think is what they called it. But in
Mhm.
order to get that, you actually have to set it up. So that's my last hookup. Again, like I mentioned, you got to be on watchOS 11.1. Once you are, open up your iPhone, open up the health app. Don't go into the watch app. You got to open up the health app. Tap browse, then tap respiratory. Under sleep apnea notifications, tap setup and then tap next. Once you do that, of course, you got to sleep with your watch on. You can't take it off and put it on a nightstand. That defeats the whole purpose. But if you
Whole
sleep
purpose.
with your Apple Watch, which should be better because the newer Apple Watches and WatchOS 11 gives you better battery life, once you start sleeping with your Apple Watch, it'll actually give you notifications if it thinks your sleeping, your breathing is being interrupted for whatever reason. So once you do all that, you do have to confirm your date of birth. And if you've ever been diagnosed with sleep apnea in the past, once you do that, then tap continue and then you're done. So those are my hookups for the week to join the Apple Intelligence Waitlist, to take the AirPods Pro hearing aid test, and to set up sleep apnea notifications. So those are my hookups for the week. And I think that's going to do it for this week's show. So Nika, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere.
And you can find me at Brother Tech, that's BROTHATECH, to connect with the show, to comment on the show, to find out how to join the Snobis community, to join our Discord. Please go to snoboscast.com. That's where you can get all of the details. And until next week, happy Halloween if you celebrate, and we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.